there is a strange cat staring at me through my window. I do not have a cat, so that is terrifying.
You're now listening to The Creator Code, the podcast dedicated to unlocking the secrets of your favorite online creators. Each week, we will deep dive into the tech, tips, and tricks to find out what truly makes them tick. Whether you're a new creator just starting out or an accomplished veteran, this show is made for you. And now, here's your host, MattyTingles.
All right. Okay. Welcome back to the Creator Code podcast. I am your host, MattyTingles. This is the podcast where we unlock the secrets of your favorite creators. Thank you so much for being here. As a reminder, full video of these episodes are on YouTube, so check that out. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Go leave a review, all that good stuff. You already know the drill. But thank you for being here today. Today is episode 9, and we have a very, very, very special guest joining us today. I am talking about 318,000 subs right now, which is going to change drastically by the time we're done with this, probably. Over 26 million views. In my opinion, one of the most entertaining, informative channels on YouTube. One of my favorites. Of course, I'm talking about Hannah Bayles. Hannah, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited that you're here. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I was looking forward to this all day.
Me too. So we're gonna get into some things. I've been asking every guest this in the beginning, just because I think it's really interesting to talk about. Obviously, the last year and a half or so has been kind of crazy. How have you adjusted to the last year and a half, and what do you miss most pre-pandemic?
That is an interesting question, because I didn't start my online presence until the pandemic started. So right. I think I posted my first video, which is no longer online because I deleted it, I think on March 30th last year.
Wow.
And my life has just changed since then in all incredible ways. So I don't even know if I could tell you what I miss.
Right.
I miss a life where, hundreds of thousands of people weren't like getting sick and dying, like for sure.
Yeah.
But I guess on a very selfish, like micro level, my life has changed for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. That's insane, by the way, that you just started last year. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I just for my personal story here, I found you by searching Dear Evan Hansen reactions, which we'll talk about later, of course. What made you get into reaction videos?
So a few years ago, I remember stumbling upon a Vocal Coach Reacts video on my YouTube. And in my opinion, and it was very bad. It was very harmful, the things that this teacher was saying.
Yeah.
And it really made my blood boil. I was like, I should be doing that. I should be a part of this conversation. But it took years after that for me to actually get the courage and have the kind of security, I guess, the humility to say, I'm gonna go on this adventure and like jump both feet, first, and so that was really like the starting point for me. But back then, I think it was I was in like not a great mental place, and so I was I had that feeling of like jealousy, like that person's doing the thing I want to be doing. That should be happening to me, not them. And it was a pretty toxic mindset. And so I don't know, just over time, I got into a better place. And so it was just last year in March that I thought, that sounds fun. Sounds fun. I could do that. And I thought, at the very least, I just want to be a part of the conversation. There's going to be a million vocal coaches on YouTube, and as there should be,
right.
There's not one size fits all for lessons or the right teacher for everyone. So I didn't get on YouTube to kind of be like the number one. I just wanted to have an audience that like knew me and trusted me and would listen to me. And here we are.
I love that. I really love that. And like, okay, so talk to me about being a vocal coach. You were that obviously before you started the channel, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And how long have you been doing that?
So I've been teaching voice, I guess now for about 8 years.
Wow, nice.
And I've been doing it full time for almost as long.
Wow.
And I currently live in Utah, and I was always pretty lucky. I never felt like I would always have the students that I wanted. And so that was my full-time job. I just teach private lessons.
Nice.
And yeah, so that was, I wanted to be able to provide like edutainment, educational entertainment, because I knew those were the kind of videos I like to watch. Nice. I like to watch commentary style videos where I end up watching a 30-minute long video, but I'm enjoying it, but I'm learning a lot. And so I wanted to be similar to that. And now it has changed because I still am a teacher, but I spend a lot more time teaching in different ways, like teaching, in my videos or creating like courses than I do private lessons, which is totally opposite of what I was doing a year ago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine things have changed a lot in the last year and just how you're going about things. That's amazing though. Really amazing. So right now your channel is growing at a crazy pace.
Yeah.
Right now. It's bananas. I'll even say this. So like I have like this Word document of all these questions and all the stuff I said earlier. And I kept having to change your numbers at like every 4 hours, like because things are just going crazy for you. What has that experience been like for you?
Oh man, Matty, you caught me at an interesting time because the last 2 weeks, definitely things have been crazy on YouTube and TikTok. And I had a little bit of an existential crisis last week, actually, because a video I posted after I posted my Descendants video on YouTube, reacting to the Descendants movie, which it's at 600,000 views after a week, is the best video I've ever posted.
Crazy.
So that did amazing. And then I get a video on TikTok that currently has 9.5 million views. And
oh my gosh.
I think I almost lost my mind. Like I think my brain broke. For like 3 days, I wouldn't go on TikTok. I wouldn't talk to anyone. Just suddenly it hit me. Oh my gosh, those aren't just numbers; those are real human eyes.
Yeah, yeah,
looking at me, and it made me a little physically ill. But I'm coming out, on the other side of that. But it's so exciting at the same time because these people, especially on YouTube, man, I just think my audience is so cool. Like people will tell me, I just got done doing a 4-hour Hannah Bayles binge. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you tired of me? Geez, that's a lot of me. But like these people almost know me better than I know myself because they're like, did you know that you do this thing with your hands? Or like you say this thing. I'm like, I didn't know that, but now you guys do. And they're so supportive and it's so great. So I'm trying to remember like, these are a lot of eyes. And some people have like not nice things to say. That's just the nature of the internet. But most of them, 98% of them are just like vibing with me and they're loving on me. And so I'm like, it's okay. It's a lot of people, but it's okay.
Yeah.
They're nice.
Yeah. That's amazing. And again, and like, that's a big part of this, right? Because, and for creators out there listening, I've talked about this before about, just being prepared for when things take off. Like it's so important because it can be extremely overwhelming and it can be like crippling at some point because you're like, okay, well now there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people watching me. Now what? Like now what do I do? Right.
And I think also that creator space can get quite lonely as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
oh, yeah.
You're creating YouTube videos like this is your full-time job, and you are surrounded by people, right? But you're not actually connecting with anyone. Like, you don't have coworkers, colleagues, or it's hard. And so I've tried to make an effort when I find a creator that I like, instead of doing what I used to do before I got on YouTube, which is just I would like every video. I would just hover, but I never commented. I never interacted.
Right.
And now I really try to do that and let them know, like, hey, I'm watching and I like it. Or I recently discovered a creator who I'm obsessed with, and she's like blown up over 4 months. Her name on YouTube is Chad. And I reached out to her on Instagram and I was like, hey, I love your channel. YouTube can be kind of lonely, like,
yeah,
if you want to be YouTube friends. And she was like, yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually a fan. Like, I'm a big fan of yours. I'm like fangirling over here. But it can get kind of scary. So for anyone just lonely and heavy, like, it's a lot to do by yourself. And so if any creators are out there, just know that that's normal, and you can find people. I think we should reach out to each other more often. But also just like having a good support system at home too.
Absolutely.
That isn't on YouTube.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's very isolating. And honestly, I'm kind of the same way. Just in the last maybe 6 months or so, I started like commenting on videos and stuff, like, and even just those little interactions can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I love that. So okay. So, but what you're doing, I think, is a little bit different than reaction videos, because you're making it educational as well, right? Like, you're reacting for sure, but you're pausing the video and talking about what they did there, right? What key there and what they did with their, you know what I mean? And I think that's really, really cool. Were there any creators when you were starting out that inspired that?
I don't think so, actually. I did feel like I did try and like look at other creators, but then I kind of realized that I think I needed to just like decide what I was going to do, and like really just not really think about what other people are doing. I have always admired, oh my gosh, his name just went poop out of my brain. He's a vocal coach.
Mm-hmm.
Oh Lord. Okay. Well, I've always admired him. I've always thought that he teaches great technique. And we have very different, I think, energies, super different, but he always taught really good technique. I'm going to find out what his name is. What is wrong with me? But I did always want to be able to provide some of that educational value as things in my channel have started to transform and evolve in a really wonderful way.
Yeah.
I'm loving reacting to movies and musical episodes, and I'm having so much fun. And I've started to give myself a little bit more permission to, I don't have to find an educational moment every time someone opens their mouth. I do a lot more of that in what I call my shorter videos. So if I just react to one song, that's what I call my shorter videos. And then my longer videos, like Descendants or the Grey's Anatomy musical episode, sometimes I just want to have fun. So, absolutely, but I do hope that like, that you can get that little like tidbit of information, like, oh, I never knew that, or even just what I'm passionate about, which is talking about like vocal baggage and healing your relationship with your voice. So if when someone says like, I've never heard that term before, vocal baggage, but it makes so much sense to me, I'm like, yes, I won, even though like that's not something that seems huge, but I'm like, if somebody kind of just connects with me for a second, it's like, she's talking about an experience, and like I kind of I recognize that in myself. That's what I just always want to do. I always just want to feel like we're friends. I just want to give off good best friend energy.
I mean, I'll say this. I think that you do a really, really good job of you seem really, really like welcoming from the rip. Like the first second of your video, you're like, oh, I like this person. This person's like really nice to be around. You know what I mean? And then, but I think what you've done that's really interesting and really good is you just said it. You've adjusted to, things are always going to change. Trends change. YouTube algorithms change, all that stuff. But like, I think finding a balance is really important for creators because, like you said, like at first you've been in certain episodes or certain videos, you've been doing a little less of the pause, let's talk about it kind of thing. But I think that's really good because obviously you found something that's working.
Yeah.
And I just I've always liked reaction videos, but especially the vocal coach stuff because I do the same thing, and I'm not a vocal coach, of course, but like I do that same thing of like pausing, and my friends hate it. But I'll like pause 4 seconds into a song and be like, "Do you see what they did there?" You know what I mean? So I just kind of relate to it like that. But
yeah, and I think I am really excited about this niche. I feel like I'm finding. I don't know if any other vocal coaches who are doing like focusing in on movies and musical things like that. And so that's exciting, but also it really is so fun for me because I get to like do a little bit of commentary and be funny. But I also think it's just the path, because if this helps more people come to my channel and more people trust me, then when I pull out that educational content, that's what it all comes back to. And I've learned, and I've, especially over the last year, as I've worked with more people, the more I've learned that everyone has vocal baggage. Like everyone has something that they carry around with their voice, whether that's like trauma where somebody, like their director in high school straight up said, "You can't sing that part, sit down," or limiting beliefs where they've always told themselves, "I'm never going to be good enough to do that. I'm never going to be good enough." We all have vocal baggage. And also at the end of the day, the way that you feel about your voice and like you enjoying singing as a human being and a soul is so much more important than your technique. And I think that might be like really controversial. And I want all of my students to have fabulous technique. Like that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. But if you are singing and you're loving it, like you're just singing and it's really fulfilling your spirit, great. Like what am I going to do? you know, like that's what's important is we put so much pressure on ourselves and say like, we can't be singers. I can't call myself a singer unless I'm like a professional. I don't think that's true.
Yeah. That's a great point. And I think sometimes like you can just see that in them. Like you can see the passion and the fun that someone's having. I love that. That's really cool. Wow. Okay, talk to me about your process of deciding what to react to.
Oh, easy. My audience does it for me. My comment section.
Love it.
Boom.
Love it. Yeah.
They give me a priority list. They like, it'll have 200 likes. I'm like, great, I'm going to do that.
I love it.
But with the, what I love about the big long list I have of musical movies and episodes, they're all, they're not time sensitive, which is nice. Yeah. So especially with my editor, we kind of categorize videos basically by the length of the footage, right? So like a shorter video, the ending result is usually about 10 minutes for me. A long video like Descendants, that's a 2-hour movie. Yeah. Add on how much footage was 2.5 hours, and she cut it down to, I think, 35 minutes, right? Wow. It took a long time. And then there's some in the middle that are more like a 30-minute episode or a 40-minute episode. So the good news that I like is that we don't really ever have to rush something out. And it's not like time sensitive. A couple things I have tried to rush, like Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo. I wanted to get that out when it was still popular. But everything else, like High School Musical, that's going to be a popular choice whenever I do end up doing that. Right. But it's also super fun to just do things that I know. Like I watched Hannah Montana. That was fun. I remember watching that when I was like a kid. And Descendants I had never seen, but I was interested in it. Once upon a time, I used to watch it and then just like gave up because it got really weird. So that was fun. And I think that's why I just love it. And I think that's also why people are drawn to them, is because I mean, I've got the name recognition on the thumbnail, so it's like, that's what's getting the clicks. But I think people can really see that I'm genuinely entertained. Like, I'm just having a great time.
That's one of the things that I love about your channel is whenever I'll watch a video, it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like you're watching this because it's what you think you should watch. It's something that you actually like.
Yeah, and I never want to react to something I don't like.
Yeah.
Like, there have honestly been a couple of times where something has been highly requested. I sit down and I film it. This is the first time I watched it. And I end up deleting that footage, and I decide I'm not going to react to this because I either honestly start to finish just didn't like it. And what's the point of me reacting to that? Like, that negativity, I don't need to do that. Or if I felt like, if I just felt like you can tell that I don't like it, or I'm trying to search I'm having a hard time. So I even had just had on my huge video on TikTok, I had some people say, like, you always react to the same stuff. Why don't you react to something that's not good? I'm like, why would I want to react to something that's not good?
Yeah.
That's not who I am. I love analyzing voices and especially some of my older ones about some Broadway singers, and like the Defying Gravity compilation. I did that, like, kind of who sang it better, but I actually didn't compare them. I just put that in my title. But like, I love analyzing and saying, here's what happened right there, and here's how we can make it better.
Exactly.
But we're talking about it as a whole performance. Like, I have no interest in reacting to things that are not good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
this is my channel. I want to react to fun things.
Exactly. And it's just not your brand right now. Like, you're like you just said, you're reacting, and maybe you'll analyze things, but you're not going, that was not good, period. Yeah. If something isn't where you think it should be, you'll say that, but then you'll say what they could have done better. Right?
Yes.
And that's a complete different vibe for the viewer than that sucked, I don't like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which, by the way, that's a big part of reaction videos on YouTube too. There's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have seen some not just vocal coaches, but just other whatever blank reacts to, and it's some form of music. I've seen that before, and I think that energy of like negativity or being snarky, I don't think, like, that can be your vibe and your brand, and that's fine. But I don't think that it will get you as far as you want to go.
Exactly.
Like, I really think that we already have so much stress and baggage surrounding singing that if you feel like, especially if you're on YouTube to grow your business or grow private lessons or coachings or whatever, like, if someone feels like you're going to tell it like it is, and it's tough love, and it's like, really, I just don't think that, in my opinion, is going to get you very far, get you what you need. And I've had so many students say to me, and it makes me sad, actually, they say, like, you're the nicest teacher I've ever had. And I'm like, by being nice? What? I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just being nice. But again, it's like, it's this idea, now I'm going on a tangent, but it's this idea that like, to progress, you have to like buckle down and work really hard and like get, have thick skin so you can take criticism. And then over here is like, a nice teacher, you're not going to do any work. Like, it's not all or nothing. It's, you can be really nice and work really freaking hard too, and progress really fast, but still have fun doing it. And so, I mean, that's just my energy in general, is like, why would I ever want, someone to feel bad about themselves? And especially with your voice, like, you remember things that people said, or you remember moments.
Definitely.
Where, like, you heard someone sing or say something where you were like, oh, that resonates with me. We just remember that. So like, when someone comes into my studio online, and like, that's in my mind, like a sacred space, like, truly, like, you are trusting me enough to pay me money, and you've shown up here today in front of a vocal coach, which is scary, to sing. And I like say, I'm honored. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Let's sing. And if I ever made a student feel less than, I think I would die. I really would. I'd be like, oh my gosh, my life is over. I never, ever want that to happen. And it's not possible to create that for everyone on YouTube. But I do try to think of that too. That like if someone stumbled upon one of my videos and if I can feel like, come on in, like this is a safe space, they might want to stay a while.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because I think as create, especially once you start to find any form of success, right? It's hard to remember that someone could be seeing this new video seeing you for the first time, right? Because a lot of times you get stuck in the all right, well, people know what to expect now, and you're thinking kind of the return people. You know what I mean? And so having that vibe every video is huge because you never know what video is going to be the first video that they see.
That's true.
Amazing. So I've always wondered this because like for me, YouTube is kind of fickle with copyright stuff and using anything. Right. And so how do reaction videos work? Like, can you generate YouTube revenue using the music?
So this is something that I am learning more about every day. So for a long time, anytime something would get copyright claimed, I would just be like, oh.
Right.
And so I wasn't making barely anything for the first year. And I was basically making enough to pay my editor, but sometimes not even enough. But like I wasn't making a cent. And then Elizabeth from The Charismatic Voice reached out to me and just said, like, just want to network and get to know the other people in our field. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so nice. Yeah. And so we got together and she kind of educated me a little bit about the copyright system. It is complicated, but it is designed to help big companies and not help creators.
Sure.
YouTube, don't fire me.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it really is. And the thing is if you go into the copyright claim and you click submit a dispute, I mean, they really make it seem like if you submit this dispute, you're in trouble. Basically, it's like you have to say, well, do you think this is fair use? And then you click yes. And then it says, just to clarify, this is what fair use is. Is yours fair use? And you're like, yes. And it's on and on. And so I was terrified to submit a dispute.
Right.
What I thought I would get a strike on my channel if it got denied, but that's actually not true. You can submit a dispute on every single video. It does not penalize your channel at all. I mean, just submit a dispute that you feel is like valid, you know, but it does not hurt your channel. So I started doing that on my videos. There have definitely been a couple videos where I was like, you know, if I just sit and watch it for 2 minutes straight and I don't say anything, I'm not going to submit, a dispute.
Right.
That's probably not what I would call fair use. But for most of my videos, I do consider them fair use. And sometimes you get copyright claimed for 2 seconds of a song.
Exactly.
Like, how are you supposed to get around that? Like, there's literally no way. So I dispute almost every single video that I put out. And that has already given me the opportunity to make money off of, off of my job. And I was like, oh my God, it took me a year to finally make money. And I wish I had known that from the very beginning. So anybody out there, if you feel like it is valid, like it is fair use, then you should send a dispute.
Yeah. Can you explain to listeners about fair use and kind of what that means in the realm of reactions?
Sure. I mean, fair use. I'm not an expert on it, but I just know that it, things can fall under fair use if they are like a parody or a commentary on that. And so, as a reaction channel, like if I'm and it can't be a replacement for the original, basically. Yeah. So, in most of my videos, you wouldn't, if you wanted to enjoy Good For You by Olivia Rodrigo, you certainly wouldn't watch my video. You would watch hers because I pause a lot. I pause, I backtrack, I listen to things again. And so I'm adding commentary throughout it. So they're not replacements for the original, in my opinion. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, that makes sense. So then are you getting a copyright claim consistently, like every video, and then you dispute it?
Pretty much, yeah. Every single video. Every once in a while, when something doesn't have a claim, I'm like, that's weird. Because like it's a big problem for channels like mine. But sometimes the claim will come through immediately. Usually it does by content ID, that the algorithm, and it will immediately get claimed. However, sometimes it'll say that there's no restrictions, like it hasn't been claimed, but then like a week later it'll get claimed. So for the most part, yes. But sometimes also is I'll upload a video, especially if it's a movie. So if it's like from Netflix, Disney Plus, like big platforms, it will get blocked, but that doesn't mean I get a strike. So it's just blocked worldwide. If I submit my dispute, it will stay blocked for 48 hours and then it'll be released. So until the dispute is resolved, it can still be seen. All the money from that video will go into an escrow account. Yep. So like, for example, my Glee video that I did a few months ago, I disputed it from the very beginning. It all went into an escrow account. And when the dispute expired and it said, okay, there's no more restrictions. Yep. It took 2 months for me to find out how much money I actually made off of that video because it was in an escrow account. So it is very interesting. Like YouTube revenue, it's hard to predict. Like at least in my case, I don't know how much money I'm going to make on a month-to-month basis.
Absolutely,
like,
yes. Yeah.
It's very crazy. But that's something that I wish I had known a year ago is you don't get penalized for a dispute that you think is valid. The worst thing they can say is no. And I mean, they do say no a lot, but you can still do it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of language that YouTube uses that's really scary for sure. And like channels are so fragile because you don't want these strikes, right? Because it's like, the whole the algorithm of YouTube is so wild and changes every second. And so we don't really know what's going on or what to do. And so we just have the small amount of rules that we follow. And then when like keywords pop up like dispute and strike and all of this, I think it scares a lot of people because everything's so fragile. But that's really good to know. And honestly, just as a viewer, I've always wondered how that works because like I have a couple other channels and obviously now I've figured it out. But in the past, I've used like music for like 2 seconds, you know what I mean? Or a second of that music and and they catch it. Right. So that's really interesting. That's really, and the fair use thing is really interesting too. Thank you for explaining that. Cause that's.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it is, it can't be frustrating because I know that creators that have the same platform, same views as mine are making so much more money than I am. And so that feels kind of frustrating because I'm like, man, I'm putting in a lot of work on this channel. But thank goodness that I did find out about copyright because just as I continue to grow and I continue to dispute things and like put in the effort there, I will make more revenue. Like that's just the way that it works. But it is, this is why I say that content ID is there to protect big companies because how can you claim me for 2 seconds and then say that whole like monetization is going to go to WMG, like a big record label? That doesn't make sense. Right. But yeah, it's a big complicated thing and YouTube doesn't want to talk about it. They do not want you to. Exactly. This is why, oh my gosh, this is why I think YouTube's going to take me out by this podcast interview. They don't want you to know. And so when it's like, when you search something, even on Google, okay, because Google owns YouTube, when you search something and you're like, how do I bypass the content ID system? Or how do I do this? It's all stuff from YouTube that's like, copyright free music, how to do this. Exactly. It's like, yeah, maybe that works for someone who sits down in front of the camera and just talks for 10 minutes. And there's plenty of creators that do that. But like, what about movie reviewers or other commentary channels or like reaction videos. It's a really tricky place to be.
For sure. Yeah. And I think like, for labels, like I understand a little bit of it. Like, you don't want people stealing the content, but also like the part that they're not getting is people will watch videos like yours and they want other people's opinion on the thing before they even go watch it themselves. You know what I mean? And so like channels, like for yours example, maybe they've never seen Glee and they'll watch your video on it and they'll be like, wait, that was actually kind of cool. I'm going to go watch Glee. You know what I mean? So that's a side of it that they're not seeing. Like you're bringing people in for them as well. You know what I mean? So, all right. So you mentioned an editor. And how did you go about finding your editor? And have you had that from the beginning or did you edit yourself?
I edited for myself for a little bit, just on iMovie. It was very, very basic. I also filmed on my phone for the first maybe 4 months of my channel.
Yeah.
So I always tell people that when they want to start, I'm like, you do not have to have the fancy tech. You can upgrade as you go.
I filmed on my phone until like 150, 200,000 subscribers, honestly.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. And then I used a friend of mine in the area that did video editing, and but he was also kind of working a full-time job, and I got to the point where I needed a kind of a full-time editor. Like I needed to pay someone for that many hours. So then I just my editor now, the British editor, as she's known on my channel, her name is Vive. She was my student for a while, and then
perfect.
She I knew that she was doing video editing because when the pandemic hit, her job, her role in her company got like downsized, but they were like, we can keep you on if you learn how to edit videos. And she was like, okay, sure. So she's been editing for about a year now. And so she's just so fantastic. And we're really close friends now. And so we've got a great relationship where we like to use Marco Polo and go back and forth about videos and just talk. And it's really amazing. But with these like longer videos, as I was talking about, it is a struggle for her. It's a lot of footage. And so she is working about 30, 35 hours a week for me now.
Wow. Nice. But I mean, and this has been a big topic on the show before, because hiring an editor is something, man, it can like really, really take a lot of pressure off of you, because, then you're just focusing on creating the video, right? And then you're sending it off. And it's something that I've struggled with too, because a lot of my friends have editors and I've hired editors before, but I cannot find one that I like really, really trust with the final product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I've struggled with that a lot. So I think matching up, but that's really cool that she was a student. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah, it was great. And it wasn't until after we started working together, or like I hired her, that we really got really close. So, I mean, I'm incredibly lucky to be friends with my editor, because I can only imagine how that is, in a professional setting where it's like, here's your video, you can have 2 revisions or whatever that looks like.
Right.
That's tough. I do think with my first editor, he really helped me, I guess, because I started myself. So I kind of like knew a little bit about my style. He helped me kind of figure that out together. And then it's just kind of changed over time. And so now, because Vive and I have been working together since November, she just knows me and my style so well. So especially with shorter videos, like I will often upload it while I'm watching it, because I'm 99% sure that it's perfect. And almost all the time it is.
That's amazing.
It's just on the longer ones where I we usually go back and forth a couple times where I'm like, this is not important. Like this slows the pacing or something like that. But yeah, I'm very lucky. I wish I had advice for how to find an editor. I just got lucky.
Yeah. And, you know, it might just be a little bit of my personality of like needing to control every aspect of it all. But like, I think that's man, that's amazing. And even just, I love that part of like, she knows your style so well now. You know what I mean? Because a lot of your video and a lot of your style is the quick cut, the cut off of like, you know, like shortening of the reaction because it's really funny to cut to something really quickly, you know, stuff like that. And so that's amazing that you found someone that like gets that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
that's
I think
nice.
we're also at a point where we can play a little bit because things are changing and I'm doing more funny stuff. So like we're going through a video right now, getting ready to post that next week. And I'm like, there is a strange cat staring at me through my window. I do not have a cat. So that is terrifying. But I'm like, what about a funny sound effect here? Like maybe you could start doing like things like that. Like let's just mess around with it. Let's play. But Maddie, you can get an editor. Look at all these videos you have. You can say like, here's 10 videos that are my favorite of all time of mine. Do your research. Like this is what I want.
That's a good idea. I never thought about that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And like for what I do too, like they're longer video, like normally they're 25 to 40 minutes long. And honestly, like I've done this for 4 years now, full time. And it's gotten to the point where if the video is 40 minutes, I'm filming 43 minutes of footage. Like I've gotten to the point where I can just kind of see
that's great.
I'm only really filming what I need. So it wouldn't be hard for someone to edit, honestly. But I know it's something I got to do. It's something I got to do.
It's an investment of time at first because you're training them. This is what I recently did because I hired a virtual assistant. And I was nervous because I was like, I know I need help, but I got overwhelmed because I was like, well, how does she doesn't know how I do things over here and whatever.
Right.
And so it was an investment of that first 2 weeks to do some Zoom calls and screen share and show her, this is my current system. It's shit. Can you help me come up with something else? Or like, here's my logins. And she has, just like an editor should, has gotten to know me and how my systems work. And now she's suggesting things. And so we're working well together. So it's that first like couple weeks, and maybe for an editor, it would be just a little bit longer, maybe a month, where you're just getting to know each other. But man, think about all the time you'd have.
I know.
You did that.
I know. And like a lot of my friends are creator friends are like, the time that you're spending editing. And by the way, I love the editing part. I think that might be a little piece of it too. Is like, I really actually love the editing part. But they'll film footage for 3 videos in the time that I'm filming 1 in editing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's time, I know. But thank you for that. That's a good idea to like pick 10 and just kind of go, here's the style. I love that. Nice. Okay, moving on. Talk to me about your vocal lessons and classes. Let's get into that.
Sure. So I now am teaching privately less than ever. I have a handful of my faves, my VIPs that I've been working with, and I teach them starting in July. I'll be teaching just 1 lesson a month for all of them. So what I was doing at the beginning of this year was teaching about maybe 18 hours a week privately. And now I'm doing about 18 hours a month.
Wow.
And it is.
Is that because of where your channel has gone?
Yeah. I mean, between just the regular content creation on YouTube and TikTok, and then, like I'm doing a lot more brand sponsorships and doing things like that. It's just getting busier and busier. But I am bringing on some teachers into my studio, my quote unquote studio, this week actually. So these are teachers. I've been thinking about doing this for a while because I have such a long waiting list, and I couldn't teach everyone on my waiting list, even if I tried, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so these are teachers that I have personally taken lessons from that I trust with my whole heart. And so I'm really excited for that to happen. I also teach master classes, usually once every month or so. And so I have one coming up with Ryan McCartan on July 24th. So
nice.
Yeah, so that's just kind of how I'm teaching now. I am also working on another singing course. This one's going to be really good. I'm really excited about that. So I'm trying to teach in more efficient ways, like a singing course or master classes, and especially master classes. I really think that they're maybe my favorite way to teach, because it's just such a great energy. Like everybody, there's about 6 singers and sometimes 20, 25 observers. And each singer gets about 12 minutes of one-on-one time with me. And so it's like we get this fast and furious lesson, but this group aspect is so cool, because when I'm like, whoa, did you hear that? I can see all the Zoom faces of the observers being like, oh my God. Like, it's just so, it's such a great vibe. So that's probably my favorite way to teach right now.
I love it. And obviously, the success of your channel and TikTok and everything, you are aiming them towards that stuff as well. So I think you have a really good system. You have a really good system going on.
Thank you.
I love to see it. Okay, so the next 5 or 6 questions, I apologize for the people out there, because it's gonna get really theater nerdy for a second.
Yes.
But so I've been a musical theater fan for a long time. I did productions in high school and middle school and all of that stuff. But I want to say 2015, 16, a musical came out. My friend who studied musical theater in Colorado actually texted me, and she was like, hey, you should check this song out. I think you would like it. It's called Waving Through a Window. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And I pretty much didn't listen to anything else for 3 years in a row. And so I've seen it a few times now. And I've talked about this on here and in videos and stuff. That musical completely changed my entire life. So I need to talk to you, just because I just need to talk to someone about it. But I need to talk to you a little bit about Dear Evan Hansen, because you've also reacted to quite a few Dear Evan Hansen, Ben Platt-ish related things on your channel. So I just have some nerdy questions that I would love to have your opinion on.
Okay, shoot.
Okay, here we go. What is the most difficult song to sing vocally from Dear Evan Hansen?
For Forever, I think.
And why?
Because it's got a huge range, as do all of the Evan songs. But at the very end, when it says and it just holds on there, and be all right, it goes all the way up to a B flat, I think, on a belt.
Yeah,
I would say that's probably the hardest.
Yep. Okay, I love, and honestly, it may be my most played song.
I love that one.
Honestly, it might be. I want to talk to you about a specific song on it really quick. I want to talk to you about Words of Fail.
Okay.
So one, you've done a cover of it, which is fantastic.
Thanks.
Loved it. But that song is, and especially if you ever see it live, it's the.
Oh yeah, I saw it. I saw it on Broadway.
Yeah. Did you? Okay. Okay. Wait. Okay. So who was Evan when you saw it?
I believe it was Taylor Trench.
Nice. Okay.
It was life-changing. The musical already meant a lot to me. And it probably affected how it was so important to me was I was also pregnant at the time. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching this teenage boy just crumble into his mother's arms like a baby. And I was just like, oh my God, it was so powerful. It's it's a really, really, really beautiful story.
Yeah. And I'm actually seeing. So I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I'm actually flying to New York in December for my birthday and seeing it with Jordan Fisher.
Ooh! Oh, I'm jealous.
Very excited. Yeah, very excited. Seeing that and Hamilton within 2 days, like back to back, on Broadway.
Oh my gosh.
So very, very excited. Outside of Ben Platt, who I one of my favorite humans on Earth.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite Evan that you've seen?
Oh, well, I don't have a lot of experience with them. Like I haven't heard a lot of them. But I really did like Jordan Fisher's rendition of For Forever that I heard.
Yeah.
I liked he added a couple opt-ups and
Yeah.
fun things that I didn't feel like were too over the top. They were really cool.
Yep.
So I liked him, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't say
for sure. And it's one of my favorite videos that you've done with the four Evans.
I love a video where I get surprised. I love it. Like that, just when something really I didn't expect an opt up or something. And I think my audience likes it too because they're just waiting. They're like, she has no idea what's coming.
Exactly. No, so that video specifically, I commented halfway through and I was like, oh, she's gonna love this part.
Yeah.
And then when it happened, I commented again. It was like, see, I told you. Jordan in the stuff that I've seen adds a couple things that are unique to him. And I think what is, at least this is just my guess, is that works best for his voice as well to get to certain notes, it seems like. But I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see I saw it in Portland. And so it was the touring, the tour. But I've never been to Broadway, so I'm very excited.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very excited. Thoughts on the movie trailer? I know you did a video for it.
I liked it. I think it looks like the cast is amazing. Like, Amy Adams is in it and Julianne Moore, right?
Yep.
Like it's going to be amazing. And the moms in that show, I think really make it. Like they do such an incredible job. Like Heidi is actually one of my future dream roles when I'm old enough to play her.
Ooh,
would love to.
That would be amazing.
But I think there was like all this controversy about whether Ben Platt was too old. And I think the real controversy should be about his hair. Why did they make his hair look like that?
Yeah, so like the first time because I was like so excited when it dropped. Like 100 people sent me the link to it before I got up. They're like, here it is. And the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, the hair, like what's going on here, right? I'm used to it now though, after my 700th view of it.
I think they were trying to make him look youthful. I think they were. Yeah. I think it was I think it actually did the opposite. I think it makes him look older. But I just think comparatively to everyone else looks like teenagers and he doesn't. And so if they had taken like a Vampire Diaries approach where everybody's 30, but they all comparatively, they all look normal, So we just suspend disbelief and we're like, it's they're teenagers. But it's a problem because Zoe looks like she could actually be 15. I don't know how old she really is, but she looks so youthful and he looks normal. Right. I mean, he looks normal. Like he doesn't look old, but compared to her, he does. So
that's a good point. That's because I know even like in Glee, they were all like late 20s when filming that. You know what I mean? So I'm very excited. I think it looks great. I'm excited to see what they do with certain songs. I don't know how they're gonna pull off certain stuff, but I'm sure it's gonna be great. And even more so, I'm just excited for people to get the message and see this that maybe haven't seen it on stage. You know what I mean? Like I think it's a really important message for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite musical of all time?
I have two answers to that. My favorite story of all time is Bright Star.
Mm-hmm.
I love Bright Star. Alice is also a dream role. I love contemporary musical theater because it just tells real stories. I mean, they all tell stories, but like just something that just really like gets you, you know, you're like, I can relate to these. So Bright Star, life-changing, saw that on Broadway. How did I get so lucky, honestly?
Love it.
Because it was only on Broadway for like 2 months. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And but my favorite musical is probably Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Nice.
It is so dumb. It's so gaudy and flashy, but it's so entertaining. It is just so fun. And and the narrator is a dream role as well. And the narrator is my number one dream role. Like, I cannot leave this earth until I've played the narrator. Like, that's how passionate about it I am.
Yeah.
But I just think it's a unique musical because the narrator, the person who tells the entire story, sings the entire time, is a woman. And on top of that, a woman who doesn't have to look a certain way. There's no, she doesn't have to be like the young ingenue, right? Like all roles for women professionally are usually either young ingenue or Mrs. Potts, like older.
Right.
And so for women in the like midlife or like 30 and above, they're like, what am I supposed to do? And I love that it can be you can just look any way to be the narrator. Love that. And I love that she is the reason the story is being told. She is the main character. She is the crutch of the whole story. And yet she's there. She's not there to fall in love with anyone. She's not the love interest. She is just a badass woman, usually in a power suit, which I love.
Right.
She's in a power suit and she's just like, listen, I got a story to tell you. And it gets me every time.
I love that. Yes. Love it. Do you see that in your future at some point? Auditioning and getting out there?
In New York?
Yeah.
I do. I'm manifesting that big time. My brother-in-law works in company management over there.
Ooh,
so he works on like big shows that are coming to Broadway. And
nice.
And I told him, I was like, it's my dream to do a short run, like maybe 3 to 6 months, something just to kind of say like, I did it, but I would never really want to live there. We're moving to Rochester, New York, actually in a few months.
Oh, wow.
Me and my family. So we'll be, 5 hours away from New York City, but it's something that I never ever thought that I could do. But it just kind of came into my head when I reacted to Cameron Dallas in Mean Girls, and not based on anything with his talent. Literally, the only reason that I thought this was I saw that he was an online, like an influencer. And I was like, oh, you can do that. You can do that. You know, like it's not just like Jordan Sparks was incredibly famous, incredible as Jenna. But I was like, I'm never going to be like, I'm not that, but I just kind of, that came into my head. And so I tucked that away. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get famous enough one day. Might take a couple of years. I'm going to get famous enough one day to at least get an audition. Right. And I think that with enough hard work, I think I could make it happen. We're manifesting that. And now you and me and all of the,
yes, we're all manifesting it. And you're on your way. Trust me, you're on your way. I'm manifesting it for you. Would love to see it. All right, I got a few more for you. Do you have a favorite video that you've made so far?
I think that my Glee video and Descendants are probably my favorites.
Nice.
I'm very proud of the final result, and I think they're very funny. So I am really proud of those ones. Although I really I think I had a lot of good stuff to say in the video where I reacted to Bonnie Milligan. It's not one of my best performing ones, but but I am proud of the information that I'm giving in that video about belting and stuff.
Nice. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I see a lot of things happening, and I'm not just saying that. I see a lot of really good things happening for you because you're really on a roll right now. So
thank you.
I urge you to keep going. Keep going. It's gonna a lot of great things.
Okay, if you insist, I will.
All right. Any advice? Okay, so this is gonna be so this is gonna be kind of on the other side of it, but you're also a vocal teacher and a performer and everything. So I think that you would have good advice for this. Do you have any advice for creators out there who are going to do covers or singing on YouTube? So not necessarily the people who are going to react, but the people like, how do I say this? I guess what I'm saying is, do you have advice for people who are going to be singing specifically on YouTube?
Well, if recording advice, send it my way, because I've done a cover and it was bad. So let me know what I should be doing. But I would say I don't like this idea of like to put yourself out there like on YouTube or to make it in the big city, you have to have thick skin. Because I think what that does to us is it like hardens us and says, and we say, you can't hurt me. That doesn't bother me. But really it does. Like, we're humans and we're soft and like squishy and like things hurt us. And so I think it's important to prepare and just know, like, I'm putting myself on YouTube and not everybody's going to like it. That's just the truth. And some people might say mean things, but that says more about them than it does about me.
Absolutely.
Because, I have never met a friend in my life or someone in my life that I liked and that would do that. I would, even if I saw a terrible singer or even somebody just like being, I don't know, like I would just never comment. I would never comment.
Exactly.
Like, so it's like that says about them. But also I think that one of my TikTok friends who really, this has always stuck with me. She said, if there's a comment that's really sticking with you, like you delete it, it's gone, but for some reason you can't get it out of your head, it's because some part of you believes it to be true.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, because I had this comment that was like, this was a while ago, that said like, I don't even think you're a real vocal coach. You're not even using the right terminology or something like that. And it was just that, I don't even think you're a real vocal coach. And I started to get, I couldn't get that out of my head. And she when she told me that, I realized like, it's because I have this imposter syndrome fear that like people are going to find out that I don't know everything, even though I tell everybody I don't know everything. And so letting that go and kind of unpacking that in myself and saying, I don't know everything. There are a lot of vocal coaches out there that know way more vocal technique than I do. I'm here to serve a very specific purpose and like bring something to the conversation, but I don't know everything. And when I did that, all those comments just kind of don't bother me anymore. But I also have I don't know if it's a good coping skill, but it's a coping skill. When my videos get like a lot of views, especially on TikTok, I just don't look at the comments. I just run away.
Yep. Me too.
I'm like, there's a million views. Some of those comments are bad. I don't need to know what's going on in there.
Exactly. Yeah. No. I kind of have the same thing where I'll check comments for like the first day, but then I'm kind of on to the next video and I don't go back and look at them. You know what I mean? But especially when you're getting into the millions and stuff, I promise you, if you guys get to that point and you're listening out there, you don't have to go back and check because it's just not going to be great. Sometimes. I think that's a really, really good point though, about, some of the stuff, if it's really sticking with you, it's because it's something that you've probably thought about yourself for sure. And the imposter syndrome, by the way, is soup. I've had that a lot of times at events and stuff where I'm like, why am I here? Like what, you know what I mean? Like it's, so imposter syndrome is super real. And we just keep going.
Yeah. And I used to struggle with that a lot. And I still think I do. But I realized when I got really into manifesting as a form of like goal setting, not in a like, I really want $10,000 and then it's like in my account. But when I started getting into that, I kind of realized that like, if you think about your higher self as your future self who's learned and grown and evolved and is better than you are now. So that's my higher self. And I think about her a lot. But like these these fear-based thoughts, are things like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't deserve this. But the thing is those are all based in fear. So I call them out. So I say, you don't belong here, or you don't know what you're talking about, is a fear of, what if I am not as good as I think I am? Or you don't belong here. What if someone thinks that I'm not good enough to be here? Or what if I'm not worthy? What if I didn't work hard enough? Or whatever it is. They're all fear-based. And so recognizing that fear has literally no place in my brain, I don't need it, I can turn those around and say, like, my higher self, my future self has gotten through this already. And she's good. She's evolved. And she recognized that what if I'm not good enough is a waste of time to think about. Because I can tell you right now, I'm already good enough and I learn on the job. So we're just going to keep going.
I love it.
So that's what I always want any of my friends or followers or anyone that this wants to like get online is like, give yourself patience to learn, whatever that means, learning the algorithm, learning your style. You don't have to have everything figured out at first, but also learning yourself. So when someone says a comment that you've never heard before, but you were like, it feels like I just got punched in the stomach. That hurts so bad. Give yourself patience to say, that hurt a lot. I'm going to think about that. Why did that hurt? Giving yourself time to like process instead of being like, no, that's not me, and pretend that it's not bothering you, because it is.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Some really good gems in there, people, if you're listening. Okay, I have a few more, and I just added this I think last night, because I was watching one of your videos, and I have to talk to you really quick about Bo Burnham. And Inside.
Let's do it.
Look, okay, I need to preface this with the first couple specials I've seen. I saw when they came out, and I was like, I was more impressed with the production side of it and like the cleverness of it than the music in those first two. And then this new one, it's like he heard me and he's like, okay, I'm gonna make like amazing music and then also hide some jokes and realness and stuff in it. Because there's seriously some songs in there that in my mind when I'm hearing it, I'm like, that's a radio hit if you put that out. You know what I mean?
I think he stopped holding back. I think this special was his last hurrah. And he just decided to be completely honest. I think that's why it resonates with so many people in sometimes a very scary way. Like people are like, I don't like this. That feels too close to home. Like I did at some points. But I had what I didn't also know, my husband told me, is that I knew that he wrote it and he shot it himself, but he also edited it. I had no idea. Honestly, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. But I think that that recognition piece is saying, I recognize a part of myself in this person or in whatever I'm, content I'm consuming. And that is why everybody just loves it, because even in a small way, they're like, oh, I get that feeling. And in a big way, like with Bo Burnham's like crippling depression, I've been there. And so there were multiple times where I was like, this is ouch. Ooh, this is really hurting me, because man, he describes it so perfectly. And the music, my gosh, I haven't stopped singing the songs. It's my most listened to thing on Spotify for the last few weeks at least. Yeah. For sure. But it's if you guys have not seen it, please go watch it. Like it is, even if you take away the music, which you shouldn't, if you're just looking at it from a creative video side of it, it is unbelievable. Yeah, it's unreal what he accomplished in that. Yeah, I mean, don't go looking for it for comedy. I would say it's like I describe it more like performance art.
For sure,
like it's very clever. It's very dark, and there are definitely moments where like you're gonna laugh, but it's just not. Yeah. It's so different, and the music is so good. And so I made that tier list video about the songs, and then coincidence? Danny Gonzalez makes a tier list video about it. So,
okay.
Just kidding. But it was really fun because that was a moment where I was like, I love the music, but also I'm really passionate about this. Like, I think it's so good that it was very exciting to make a video about it and just kind of talk about it as a whole, and people watched it. That was really fun.
Mm-hmm. It is really, it's really dark, but also like, I think the last year and a half has been kind of dark for a lot of people. So I think, it was just it was the perfect time to put it out. It was the perfect, because every person can relate to at least some of it, because every person just went through a global pandemic and all of that. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's amazing. White woman's Instagram has been stuck in my head for about a month.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk equipment really quick for you, for your videos. What camera and mics are you using?
Oh, I use a Shure SM7B. Yep. A lot of people use that one, and it's worked really well for me. I used a Yeti for a while, and that was great at the beginning. And now this is highly recommend. I use a Sony A6000 for my camera. Although it stops recording after 22 minutes because it's mostly a photo camera, so I stop it and start recording. But the thing that I love the most is my monitor. Which I could not tell you what it is at this current moment. Okay. But I got a monitor that attaches, and that has been so great.
Love it.
To like check the frame and everything. Love it.
Love it. Yes. And also, like, because I watched your channel for a while. I think it's a really fun part of being a creator is being able to upgrade those things, because you feel legit, you feel cool, you feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. All right. Two more really quick for you. If you could hear anyone else on this podcast, who would you like to hear?
Oh my gosh.
And if you say Jordan Fisher,
would love to hear from oh God. I have three. Okay. Are you ready? Okay. Philosophy Tube.
Okay.
And do you know Philosophy Tube?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I definitely want to hear from Abigail. And Curtis Connor, maybe my favorite YouTuber of all time is Curtis Connor.
Nice.
I'm really trying to get him to invite me on his podcast. I'm putting that out into the universe. So let's see if that ever happens one day. And probably Danny Gonzalez. I think Danny Gonzalez seems very collaborative. He does a lot of collabs. So maybe shoot for him first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Last question for you. This is always the most controversial one of the show. It really divides people. Thoughts on pineapple on pizza? Is it a yes or no for you?
I will eat it if it's in front of me. I won't order it, but if it's in front of me, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, that it seems it's like the most divide. Like when I'm streaming or so, it's like it like starts arguments. It's crazy. So I've been asking every guest that.
I feel like that's probably a pretty diplomatic answer, huh? Like, if it's in front of me, but you know.
I mean, yeah, because I guess it's kind of a vague question, right? Because it's like you're not going to order it, right?
I probably wouldn't.
It's there.
I probably wouldn't order it, but not because I don't like it. I just like other things better. I think salty sweet has always worked.
Yeah. I'm with you. Okay. What's your dream pizza? What's your perfect pizza?
Well, I don't eat gluten or dairy. Ugh,
oh, okay.
Lame. But from what I can remember from years down, ago, just a supreme pizza, like with everything on it and like bell peppers and mushrooms and stuff. Love it.
All right. All right. Where can they find you online, Hannah? This is your time to plug away.
You can find me on YouTube, Hannah Bayles, just my name. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Your Voice Teacher. You can also check me out online at hannahbayles.com. And I'm pretty sure that's it. If you're watching this, I'll probably show up in your recommended one day. So you'll see me again.
Yes. All right, guys, definitely check her out. She's extremely entertaining and honestly educational. if you're even remotely into singing and performance. So yeah, definitely check her out. Thank you so much for being here, Hannah. This was a joy. I'm very excited we could make this happen.
Thank you. This was so amazing.
Of course. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to subscribe on the YouTube, leave a review, especially on Apple Podcasts, if that's where you're listening to it. This has been the Creator Code Podcast. I am your host, MattyTingles. Be safe out there. Be kind to others and yourself. All right. See you next time.